although this little greenhouse is old and battered, it's still functional, just about. Because inside there are 1, 2, 3, 4 really healthy looking cucumbers that should produce lots of cucumbers, gherkins and deli star, the yellow cucumber. I put in some lettuce and 2 cucumbers earlier in the season, and every single one got munched by slugs. So it was worth persisting. Batten down the end of things now so it won't fly away anymore. It's my trusty transport. And this is interesting because these dahlias were just black after the worst of the last frosts, and just in 2 or 3 weeks they've just come back so vigorously, more and more of them. So it should be a good show this year, dahlias. And in the polytunnel everything is growing nicely. Cucumber, tomatoes, some more plants to go in, but I'm not sure I've got any room left now. Look at those lettuce coming on lovely. In amongst there's some radish, quite a lot of weeds, and the onions have picked up really well. So as long as they don't get any disease through being indoors, might get some nice onions there. And spinach coming up here, which I'll have to thin out, but looking very healthy. Oh, and I was at the Horticultural Society the other day, and you have to queue to get in one at a time. The bloke in front of me was a friend of mine, Neil, who has a plot on here, and he gave me 2 melon plants. Well, when I came back and came up here outside the polytunnel door were 2 melon plants, which was jolly nice of him. And this is a present from the missus, which looks jolly fine. Do some work there, and there is the grapevine. Muscat grape. Thank you very much, Sophie and Rich. And as you can see, if you look there, there's the stem, and it's going underneath the frame, so that the roots are in the cool, and the leaves and the flowers and the fruit will be in the warm. That is the plan. That's interesting. So the roots are out here. I'm hoping to have a little garden out the front to make it look nice, but the slugs are doing their worst at the moment. And here I put in a couple of outdoor cucumbers, which are doing all right, but the runner beans, 1 or 2 are okay, and 1 or 2 are very sad. And this one, because I didn't put any cover around it, it's virtually gone. But these are interesting because this is rattlesnake pole bean and red noodle beans down here. So I'm hoping, just as an experiment, to try out those. And here the broad beans are coming into flower and the bumblebees are in there pollinating the flowers. So hopefully that will produce lots of broad beans. And here the Jerusalem artichokes, despite being eaten like this, have started to come on quite strongly, so I hope that will do the same eventually. So that's looking good. Now this is interesting. I don't know if you can see it on this garlic here. It's got a flower bud on it. There. And that's a garlic. There's another one here. Now apparently these are hard neck garlic, and these produce flowers like this. But that's not a bad thing. They aren't going to seed. Well, I suppose they might be, but that's not a bad thing, because what you can do is you can actually take these off and then use them as mild garlic flavouring in your cooking. So I'm going to harvest these in a little while and then use them, and then once you've taken these off, all the energy will go into producing bigger and healthier bulbs. Well, that is the plan. So I'll come back in a minute and harvest those. And interesting enough, these elephant garlic are doing the same thing. There's a flower bud coming there. These carrots look as though they've been slugged, but never mind. The parsnips are coming on. The whole row there empty, so I don't know what happened there. Normally it's pretty good. I've earthed up the potatoes. Sophie says to put straw around it. I might add some straw to it. And here I put in yesterday some baby sweet corn, germinated by my newly found out method, and I'm just hoping that the little slugs don't get too many of these seedlings before they get going. I have got one or two spares, so and the onions are coming on nicely. I might have to thin them out a bit more, I think. It's a question of whether I want lots of small ones or fewer big ones. We will see. And the leeks have gone in. They look okay. They're standing up. I think I put them in a little bit early. But they're looking healthy enough. Not much of them yet. But now this is interesting. This is a parsnip bed. Excuse me. And then in the middle of it is a strawberry. Some little critter has nicked my strawberry and run off with it and left it in the parsnip bed. There's the strawberries. Some coming on here. But I've picked a few. But you've got to pick them before the slugs get them, or the little meese. These peas are wonderful. So I hope there will be an opportunity for the grandchildren to come up and pick some and eat them. blueberry flowers coming on. This one's recovering reasonably well from the diggings underneath the ground, as this one doesn't look too bad. Quite a few flowers on it. And this one looks healthy, but no flowers because of the tunnelling underneath the roots. And I was talking to my friend who's just down the way, who's got the beehives, and he noticed that the bees go for certain plants. You know, they'll go not on the allotment to look for pollen, but elsewhere. But then as he was walking past, he noticed that these raspberries and loganberries had lots of bees on them. Can't see any at the moment. They're probably still warming up, but so these are good for the bees, apparently, the honeybees, loganberries and the raspberries. I didn't go for my kale flowers quite as much, but that's okay. Now this magnificent beast of a plant, look at it, it's now as tall as me. And there you can see flowers appearing, just like globe artichokes. Cardoon. What an impressive plant this is. Magnificent. The blackberry. Oh look, blackberry flower. First one. Come on bees, do your job. And the apples are coming on this apple tree. It's funny how this apple tree does better than the one in the garden. And this comfrey is very good, and my friend Bart, who keeps the bees, he goes looking in the hedges over there, and there's some comfrey growing wild, and he makes manure out of it, liquid manure, very, very smelly stuff, but very, very good. So things are really getting going on the plot at the moment. All very pleasing, apart from the bits of slug damage. Everything's coming on nicely. Still got a few things to put in, like the broccoli, more leeks, kale, and all my pumpkins and squashes. So a really good season so far.